Young and Restless weekly spoilers September 15th to 19th. Jack's warning and Phyllis's betrayal unleash chaos. On Monday, September 15th, we've got Season 52, Episode 240 of YandR. Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron, tells Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley about Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller's $5 million contract he signed with Victor Newman, Eric Braden, and her mom defends him. Victoria gives Kyle credit and thinks that this proves his devotion to Claire, him taking this big risk. But at the same time, Victoria is not happy to hear that her dad was involved in this. Claire wonders if Kyle is obsessed with her, jealous, and just being too much because of how he reacted to her being friends with Holden Novak, Nathan Owens. Claire says she never got crazy like that, even when Summer Newman, Allison Lanier, was around all the time, talking to Kyle and being friendly, and sometimes more than friendly. Victoria advises Claire to give Kyle a chance, and she shocks Claire because she says Kyle told her he's never felt this way about anybody, not even Summer. Victoria advises Claire to think very carefully, and maybe give Kyle a chance. YandR drama, Kyle, Nate, Audra, and Holden's entanglements. Meanwhile, Kyle runs into Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, over at Crimson Lights. Kyle is worried that Nate is going to punch him in the face, but Nate says no. They are both Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver's victims. Nate then says that Claire honestly is the real victim. Kyle asks him about Holden, and says that Holden has glommed onto Claire. Nate says he thinks Holden is very sketchy and still very much into Audra. Kyle talks about Audra causing issues for him and Claire, but he hopes they can get past it. Nate says that people warned him about Audra, and he should have listened. But now Nate says he is completely done with her for good. That's when Victoria and Claire join them, and Nate takes off with Victoria. Claire asks if Kyle was talking to Nate about Holden. Kyle is deflecting. This is a touchy subject for her, and he knows that. Kyle just doesn't want Holden hurting Claire, but she says she can protect herself. The person she's not sure she can trust is Kyle. He's begging Claire to do a reset and let them start over as a couple. Phyllis confronts Michael over shady dealings with Kane. Michael Baldwin, Christian Jules LeBlanc, talks with Phyllis and says he took a job with Kane. She guesses that Michael will be Kane's fixer since he already has a lawyer, Amanda Sinclair, Miss Hale Morgan. Michael talks about putting everything behind them, about how mad Phyllis was when he was defending Sharon Newman, Sharon case. Michael then says that Lauren Fenmore, Tracy Bregman, doesn't know he's working for Kane and that he's keeping it on the down low. That's when Phyllis starts to smell a rat. Michael starts making excuses about protecting Lauren and plausible deniability. But Phyllis calls BS and tells Michael if he doesn't come clean, she's going to go to Kane and tell him that Michael cannot be trusted and is up to something shady. Lily's dilemma. Forgiving Kane and Devon's perspective. Meanwhile, Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, talks to Devon Hamilton, Brighton James, wondering if her kids will forgive Kane. Devon wants to know if the video Kane made softened up the kids, or if it softened up Lily. She thinks that Kane has mishandled everything. Lily thinks it might just be better if the kids cut Kane out of their lives permanently. Devon says, been there, done that, did it with Tucker McCall, Trevor St. John. Lily wonders if Devon might be encouraging her about Kane, but Devon says, no, this is just a conversation. Lily vows that she is done with her ex-husband on Young and the Restless. Kane's manipulation, AI program, Amanda and Lily's trust. Amanda talks to Kane about him letting Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, have the AI program and whether that's dangerous. Kane says that Billy only thinks he's controlling the program. It'll be Kane secretly controlling it to do what he wants. Kane then asks Amanda if she'll get close to Lily to advocate for him. Amanda actually agrees to try. She goes over and runs into Devon and Lily. Amanda and Devon snark at each other until she asks to talk to Lily alone. Lily asks Amanda if she still misses Devon, especially since Amanda had made a crack about Abby Newman, Melissa Ordway. Kane then texts Billy to ask if they are still a go. Young and the Restless spoilers. Tuesday, September 16th, Sally's warning and Chelsea's predicament. On Tuesday, September 16th, it's Season 52, Episode 241 of Young and the Restless. Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, is not going to budge with Billy. Sally refuses to endorse anything that involves Billy working with Kane, and she really wants Billy to stay away from Kane. All of this has already screwed up AbbottCom. The funding's gone, there's no company for her to run, and Billy is just gambling with both their futures, and she's not having it. Sally goes over to talk to Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, who asks Sally if Billy's all right. Sally says Billy is not all right. He is making the biggest mistake of his life, and I tend to agree, and he's made some big ones. Somebody pushes Kyle to take the high road. It could be Claire, Nate, Holden, or Audra. Chelsea Lawson Newman, Melissa Claire Egan, is in a tough position because of Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, and this most likely involves the Newman war with Billy, and maybe Newman Media published something else crappy about him. YandR spoilers. Wednesday, September 17th, Jack's warning to Nikki and Kane's scheme against Victor. Wednesday, September 17th, Season 52, Episode 242 of YandR and the Restless. Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, gets a warning from Jack. I think he may tell her that Victor is coming after Jack, coming after Jabot, coming after the family. He just wants to let Nikki know that he's not going to take it, that he will retaliate if Victor wants war with the family. That's what he will get. Victor is multitasking, going up against multiple enemies at once. Kane encourages Billy to patch things up with Jill Abbott, Jess Walton. Jill is in town soon. Kane also meets with Billy this week and asks him how long he's dreamed about taking down Victor. Kane tells Billy, say yes and let's start dismantling Newman Enterprises. YandR and the Restless spoilers. Thursday, September 18th, Mariah's secret meeting in Lily's charm. On Thursday, September 18th, Season 52, Episode 243 of YandR and the Restless, Mariah Copeland, Cameron Grimes, meets with Daniel Romalotti, Michael Graziadei, behind Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks. Back. She wants to know if Daniel did what she asked, and he says, yes, Tessa doesn't know that I'm here. He didn't tell her. Daniel and Mariah have a very tense talk, but in the end, it may be just her wanting to make sure that Tessa has a support network if Mariah is indeed going away, like she talked about. Lily finds herself charmed by Kane, at least in a moment, but it may be a while before he gets much further than that. Jack asks Victoria for help, and this is something to do with her dad. YandR spoilers. Friday, September 19th, Kane's master plan in Billy's is on the brink of chaos this week as long-buried secrets, betrayals, and explosive confrontations threaten to upend the lives of its residents. The week of September 15th to 19th promises a whirlwind of suspense, heartache, and shocking twists that will leave fans talking for months. At the center of it all are Jack Abbott, Phyllis Summers, and a series of actions that could have devastating consequences for everyone around them. Monday, September 15th, Jack issues a dire warning. The week kicks off with Jack Abbott stepping into the role of the town's reluctant guardian, issuing a warning that could either save lives or ignite further conflict. After uncovering unsettling developments at Newman Enterprises, Jack grows increasingly concerned about Victor's latest maneuvers. The usually composed Abbott patriarch is visibly shaken as he confronts his family, making it clear that certain decisions could spiral out of control if ignored. Jack's warning, however, is met with skepticism by some, including Adam Newman. Adam, ever the schemer, senses an opportunity within Jack's fear and quietly begins to plan his next move. While Jack tries to unite his family, tensions simmer under the surface, hinting that a storm is brewing just beyond the city's polished facade. Meanwhile, at Jabot, Victoria and Billy Abbott are locked in a power struggle. The siblings' competitive nature, combined with the rising tension from Jack's warning, threatens to fracture both their professional and personal relationships. This week, viewers will see cracks forming in the Abbott dynasty, as loyalty is tested and alliances shift in unexpected ways. Tuesday, September 16th, Phyllis's shocking betrayal. Phyllis Summers is at the heart of Tuesday's chaos. Known for her cunning and charm, Phyllis delivers a shocking betrayal that leaves both friends and foes reeling. The betrayal isn't just strategic, it's personal, hitting someone close to her in a way that could have lasting consequences. Genoa City residents will be stunned as Phyllis manipulates events to her advantage, leaving a trail of broken trust in her wake. This betrayal comes at a critical time, coinciding with Jack's earlier warning. As the fallout spreads, Adam sees an opening to advance his own ambitions, quietly maneuvering behind the scenes to exploit the turmoil. Meanwhile, Phyllis's actions force her allies to reconsider where their loyalties truly lie, creating tension among even the closest of friends. At the Chancellor Mansion, Phyllis's betrayal sends ripple effects through the family. Billy is left questioning whether he can trust anyone, while Kane Ashby begins to suspect that the chaos surrounding them is far from over. By the end of the day, Genoa City is buzzing with whispers of deceit, and viewers are left on edge, waiting to see who will be hurt the most. Wednesday, September 17th, Confrontations and Collateral Damage. Midweek, The consequences of Jack's warning and Phyllis's betrayal explode into public confrontations. At Newman Enterprises, Victor finally learns of the growing unrest within his company. His reaction is explosive, as the usually unshakable tycoon lashes out at anyone he suspects of disloyalty. Jack, determined to protect his family and business, finds himself at odds with Victor's volatile temper. The tension between the two patriarchs escalates into a heated confrontation that has the entire boardroom holding its breath. Their clash threatens not only their personal relationship, but also the stability of the companies they control. Meanwhile, Phyllis faces her own reckoning. The person she betrayed is determined to get justice, leading to a dramatic face-to-face confrontation that is as emotional as it is explosive. Secrets are revealed, and trust is shattered as Phyllis must confront the real cost of her actions. Friends and foes alike begin to pick sides, and Genoa City becomes a chessboard of manipulation and power plays. Thursday, September 18th. Unexpected alliances and rising stakes. Thursday brings a surprising twist as unlikely alliances form amidst the chaos. Jack finds an unexpected ally in someone he once distrusted, creating a temporary truce aimed at stabilizing the city's fragile social order. The collaboration, however, is fragile, and viewers will see just how tenuous loyalties can be in a town defined by ambition and betrayal. Phyllis, sensing the walls closing in, attempts to negotiate her way out of trouble. Her charm and wit are on full display as she tries to manipulate the situation to her benefit, but not everyone is willing to forgive. Her former allies are torn between anger and understanding, creating a dynamic full of tension and intrigue. Meanwhile, Adam continues to maneuver behind the scenes, exploiting both Jack's caution and Phyllis's betrayal. His schemes are subtle but dangerous, hinting that he may have a larger plan in motion that could change the balance of power in Genoa City forever. Friday, September 19th. Chaos reigns in uncertain futures. By Friday, the week's events reach a fever pitch. Confrontations escalate, alliances are tested, and the consequences of earlier decisions come to a head. Jack must navigate the fallout of his warning while protecting his family and business from both internal and external threats. Phyllis's betrayal comes back to haunt her in unexpected ways, forcing her to face the reality of her actions. The city's social and business circles are in turmoil, with friendships, marriages, and corporate relationships all hanging in the balance. As the week closes, viewers are left with more questions than answers. Who will survive the week's turmoil? Which alliances will endure, and which will crumble? With so much uncertainty in Genoa City, one thing is clear. Nothing and no one is safe from the chaos unleashed by Jack's warning and Phyllis's shocking betrayal. This week promises heartbreak, strategy, and explosive drama, keeping fans on the edge of their seats. Genoa City is a city where power, betrayal, and love collide, and the events of September 15th to 19th are a reminder that in The Young and the Restless, the next shocking twist is never simmering with tension this week as the intricate web of relationships among Kyle, Nate, Audra, and Holden reaches a fever pitch. The interplay of ambition, betrayal, and emotional vulnerability has set the stage for a week of shocking confrontations and unexpected alliances that could redefine lives and loyalties. It all begins with Kyle, whose professional and personal life are colliding spectacularly. The young businessman has been juggling more than he anticipated. On one hand, his business ventures are gaining traction, but on the other, his personal entanglements threaten to derail everything he has worked for. Kyle's growing anxiety is evident, particularly in his interactions with Nate, who has become both a confidant and an unpredictable factor in his life. Their friendship, built on a foundation of trust, is being tested by unspoken desires and the shadow of past mistakes. Nate, ever perceptive, senses Kyle's inner turmoil and is torn between supporting his friend and acting on his own growing feelings. Audra's presence in this tangled narrative adds a layer of unpredictability. Audra, who has always been determined to assert control over her life, finds herself increasingly entangled with both Kyle and Nate. Her intentions are often opaque, leaving everyone, including herself, questioning her next move. Is she pursuing Kyle out of genuine affection, or is there an ulterior motive tied to the complex business dynamics in Genoa City? Meanwhile, Holden looms in the background, a constant reminder of past relationships and unfinished business. His feelings for Audra, though complicated, are genuine, and he is unwilling to step aside quietly. The tension between Holden and Kyle, subtle yet charged, hints at the possibility of a confrontation that could escalate quickly. One afternoon, an ostensibly casual business meeting turns into a powder keg. Kyle and Nate are discussing a new venture when Audra walks in, ostensibly to deliver documents, but clearly looking for an opportunity to stir the waters. Her arrival is electric. Kyle tries to remain composed, but Nate's reactions betray his own conflicted emotions. Audra, sensing the undercurrents, teases them both with calculated precision, igniting subtle sparks of jealousy. Holden, who has been observing from a distance, senses the charged atmosphere and steps in, offering a seemingly innocuous comment that masks his true intent: to assert his presence and stake his claim in the emotional triangle, or quadrangle. The ensuing weeks reveal the layers of deception, loyalty, and hidden agendas. Audra makes a bold move, meeting with Nate in private. The conversation is intense, revealing not only mutual attraction but also shared ambitions that could benefit, or harm, their positions in both personal and professional arenas. Kyle, though unaware of the specifics, feels the shift in dynamics and begins to suspect that both Nate and Audra are keeping secrets. His anxiety mounts, fueled by a mixture of professional responsibility and personal insecurity. He knows that in Genoa City, secrets are often more dangerous than outright conflicts, and he struggles to maintain his composure. Meanwhile, Holden is not idle. His interactions with Audra are charged with nostalgia and unresolved tension. He reminds her, and himself, of the bond they once shared and the potential for rekindling it. However, Holden's approach is cautious, recognizing that any misstep could alienate Audra completely. He navigates the delicate dance of showing affection while remaining aloof enough to gauge her true feelings. Holden's calculated restraint adds another layer of complexity, making it clear that Audra's heart and her loyalties are still very much in play. A dramatic turning point arrives when a public confrontation forces all four into the same room. The tension is palpable. Kyle, usually composed under pressure, is visibly rattled. Nate tries to maintain calm, but his protective instincts toward Audra's surface in subtle, telling ways. Audra, caught between her feelings and her ambitions, struggles to assert control over the conversation. Holden, calm and commanding, uses the opportunity to stake his emotional claim. Words fly, accusations are made, and truths are exposed. The confrontation is both cathartic and incendiary, leaving emotional wounds that will not heal easily. In the aftermath, each character is left to reckon with their choices. Kyle retreats into work, using business as a shield to process his emotions. Nate is forced to confront his feelings for both Kyle and Audra, realizing that loyalty alone cannot resolve matters of the heart. Audra, caught in the maelstrom of conflicting desires, begins to question her motives and the path she truly wants to follow. Holden, meanwhile, contemplates a bold move that could either solidify his position or risk losing everything. The city of Genoa City watches, knowing that these entanglements are far from over, and that each decision carries repercussions that could resonate for months to come. Amidst the drama, unexpected alliances form. Nate and Holden, despite their rivalry over Audra, find common ground in navigating their professional responsibilities. Kyle, recognizing the need for clarity, confronts his own fears and considers opening up about his insecurities. Audra, ever the strategist, realizes that the best course may involve balancing her emotions with calculated moves, ensuring that she remains a pivotal player in both personal and business arenas. As the week unfolds, the drama escalates further when a shocking secret about one of the four comes to light. This revelation, tied to past decisions and hidden actions, threatens to upend everything. Loyalties are tested, and the characters must navigate the treacherous waters of trust, love, and ambition. In true Young and the Restless fashion, no one emerges unscathed. Each interaction, each whispered conversation, sets the stage for new conflicts, unexpected alliances, and heart-wrenching decisions. Ultimately, this week in Genoa City highlights the volatile mix of ambition, desire, and loyalty that defines life for Kyle, Nate, Audra, and Holden. Their entanglements are not just personal. They reverberate across the city, influencing business decisions, social alliances, and emotional bonds. As secrets come to light and confrontations escalate, viewers are reminded that in Genoa City, nothing is ever simple and no one's heart, or future, is safe. With each passing day, the stakes rise and the question remains: who will emerge victorious in this intricate dance of love, rivalry, and ambition? One thing is certain: for Kyle, Nate, Audra, and Holden, the coming days promise more twists, turns, and emotional upheaval than any of them could have anticipated. The only certainty in Genoa City is that the drama never truly ends. And for these four, the next chapter may be the most explosive. Was quiet that afternoon, the kind of uneasy calm that always preceded a storm. In the Abbott mansion, Phyllis Summers sat in the lavish living room, her fingers drumming impatiently against the polished oak coffee table. Her mind raced with fragments of conversations, whispers in the hallways, and her gut that something about Michael's recent actions didn't sit right. She had prided herself on being able to read people, on knowing when someone was hiding something, but even she hadn't anticipated the extent of Michael's latest indiscretions. The moment Michael walked in, Phyllis's sharp eyes zeroed in on him. There was a tension in his shoulders, an unusual rigidity in his posture that immediately set her instincts on high alert. She didn't even wait for pleasantries. "Michael," she began, her voice steady but laced with an edge that suggested trouble. "We need to talk." Michael hesitated, as if sensing the storm he was about to walk into. "Phyllis, can this wait?" he asked cautiously, though the weight in her tone told him that it couldn't. "No," she replied firmly, standing and pacing slightly. "It can't. I know what you've been doing with Kane, and I need answers. Now." Michael's jaw tightened. He'd hoped to keep his dealings under wraps, but the way Phyllis's eyes bore into him made it clear she had figured out more than he anticipated. He leaned against the doorway, trying to appear calm, but his mind raced. Every step he had taken with Kane recently, every risky maneuver at Chancellor Industries, suddenly felt exposed under her piercing gaze. "Phyllis, I can explain," he began, choosing his words carefully. "It's not what you think." Phyllis stopped pacing and turned to him, her eyes narrowing. "Not what I think," she repeated, incredulous. "Michael, people have been talking, whispering, and I've been noticing the way Kane keeps showing up whenever there's business that benefits you both. You're hiding something, and I intend to find out what." Michael ran a hand through his hair. "Phyllis, you have to understand. Kane and we're trying to save the company. It's complicated, but everything we're doing is legal." Phyllis let out a sharp laugh, more of a bark than a laugh, the sound echoing through the elegant living room. "Legal? Michael, since when did cutting corners and making backroom deals become your version of legal? I've known you long enough to know when you're playing both sides. Kane is dangerous, and you've gotten yourself tangled in his games." Michael swallowed hard. He knew she was right. Kane was brilliant, yes, but he was also unpredictable and ruthless. Aligning too closely with him could jeopardize not only Michael's reputation, but the entire Abbott legacy. "I'm not blind, Phyllis," Michael said quietly. "I know Kane has his ways. But right now we're trying to keep Chancellor Industries afloat. If I don't make these moves, we could lose everything. You have to trust me on this." Phyllis's eyes softened for just a moment, flickering with the faintest hint of understanding, but it vanished as quickly as it came. "Trust you? Michael, you can't expect me to blindly trust you when you've been sneaking around, making deals behind everyone's back. You're smarter than this, but sometimes you make choices that put everyone else in danger. And I'm done sitting quietly while you gamble with our lives." Michael stepped closer, his tone urgent. "Phyllis, I'm not gambling. I'm trying to protect everything we've worked for. Kane has connections, he knows how to make deals that keep the company strong." "Strong?" Phyllis interrupted sharply, stepping right in front of him. "Michael, do you even hear yourself? You're risking your name, your integrity, and everyone who depends on you, all for what? A few flashy deals? You think Kane cares about the Abbotts? He doesn't. He cares about one thing, himself. And you're letting him pull you into his schemes." Michael's shoulders slumped, the fight in him waning under the weight of her words. He wanted to defend himself, to convince her that he wasn't as reckless as she thought. But deep down, he knew she was right. Kane was a brilliant strategist, but he was dangerous. Aligning too closely with him had already started to blur Michael's own moral compass. Phyllis's expression softened, but only slightly. She took a deep breath, lowering her voice but keeping the fire in her eyes. "I'm not saying you're a bad person, Michael. I'm saying that you've let yourself get wrapped up in someone else's game, and now it's affecting all of us. You need to step back, think carefully, and remember who you are. You're Michael Baldwin. You're not Kane Ashby. Don't lose yourself trying to win his war." Michael nodded slowly, the tension in his body easing just a fraction. He knew she was right. He had been so focused on immediate gains, on proving himself, that he hadn't considered the bigger picture. How his choices were affecting those he cared about most. I hear you, Phyllis," he admitted, his voice quieter now. I've been reckless. Maybe too reckless. Kane is persuasive and You've got to remember your own instincts, Michael. Phyllis interrupted gently, the fire in her eyes replaced with concern. You're stronger than anyone else's influence. Don't let anyone make you forget that. A long silence hung between them. The tension was still there, but it had shifted, transformed into something more contemplative. Michael looked at Phyllis, her eyes full of both frustration and hope, and he realized how much he had taken her for granted. Not just as someone who could see through his schemes, but as someone who genuinely cared about him and the people around them. I promise, Michael said finally. I'll be more careful. I'll think about the consequences. I don't want to lose myself, or anyone else in the process. Phyllis nodded, letting out a slow breath. Good. That's all I'm asking. Just don't let ambition blind you, Michael. You're better than that. And if Kane pushes too far, you know what you have to do. Michael smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and gratitude washing over him. I know. And thank you, Phyllis, for holding me accountable. Phyllis allowed herself a small, approving smile, though the warning in her eyes remained. Just remember, Michael, no one wins when secrets run the show. Keep your head, and don't let Kane's games consume you. That's an order. Michael chuckled softly, shaking his head at her theatrical delivery, but he knew it wasn't really an order. It was a lifeline. One that he intended to hold on to. As Phyllis left the room, the storm outside the Abbott mansion began to intensify, a reflection of the tumultuous battles brewing in Genoa City. But for the first time in weeks, Michael felt a flicker of clarity. He would have to navigate Kane's schemes carefully, but with Phyllis keeping him in check, maybe, just maybe, he could survive the storm without losing himself in the process. And in Genoa City, survival was everything.